Hey there, welcome back to Tim Talks Cooking. Today we are talking vegetarian eggplant noodle lasagna. You heard me right, vegetarian keto eggplant noodle lasagna. Alright, I got all the words in that time. Let's get started. Here's what you'll need to make this great lasagna recipe. Now mind you, if you want to add meat to this, go right ahead. I'm not going to do that today, we're going to make this vegetarian. Anyway, it starts off with 2 eggplants that I've sliced using a mandolin into these lovely noodles. I'll show you how to do that in another segment. This at one time was 12 ounces of frozen chopped spinach. I prepared it by thawing it and squeezing the water out of it. I'll also show you that, as well as how to saute these mushrooms. These are crimini mushrooms. I think this is 8 ounces that I sliced up thickly and sauteed in some olive oil with some kosher salt and some freshly ground black pepper. I've got a quart of my best ever keto pizza sauce, and the recipe for that will pop up on the screen somewhere, and you can just click on it. And here I've got 2 cups of basil pesto from my garden, actually, and I've thawed that, and I'm going to use that. I think I'm only going to use about a cup of it, though. We'll see as we proceed with the recipe. You're also going to need a cheese filling, which I've got right here. This is already mixed up, and the ingredients for this are, I'll just tell you right now, that's a quart of whole milk ricotta cheese, a cup and a half of shredded mozzarella cheese, 3/4 of a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, 2 large eggs, and a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. Little salt and pepper, of course, go in there. And I'll show you how to do that in another segment. Okay, so let me show you how to prepare the eggplant. First of all, we need a sharp knife for this. I'm going to cut off this top part right there. Set that aside and put it in my compost, and then we need to peel it. To stabilize it right here, I'm going to slice a little bit off the bottom. And now you can of course do this with a potato peeler, very easy to do. I'm going to use a knife and I'm just going to slice down the sides. Let me just show you like this, like that, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And here we have it, all peeled. Nothing to it. Now, to make the prettiest slices, I like to use this device. It's called a mandolin. And you got to be careful with it because it's easy to cut yourself. But what you do is, I've got it at the widest setting here. It's adjustable. I got this. This is a real cheapie I got in like the grocery store or something. Anyway, if you have a better mandolin, I'm sure you have more choices on it. But you just simply hold the eggplant in there, slide it along flat, and there we have a slice of eggplant that really looks a lot like a lasagna noodle, right? I'm going to continue with the rest of the eggplant here, and then I'll come back. Here's what we end up with. These really great slices of eggplant that pretty much resemble lasagna noodles. Now, they're not regular, and some of them are a little differently shaped. Some of them are shorter or longer than others. Not a problem. I'm going to put these on a parchment paper lined sheet pan, and I'm going to brush them with some olive oil and put them in a 375-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes until they soften up. And here's what they look like when they come out. You can see these are hot, but it's nice and pliable. And I'm not going to hold that for too long because it really is hot, but they're steaming and they're nice and pliable, and they'll be tender, really very much like noodles in our lasagna. To prepare the mushrooms, I brush off whatever dirt there is on them with a dry paper towel, gently. And then I'm going to slice them into thick slices, like that. And then I'm going to saute them with a little olive oil and salt and pepper. I'm heating my skillet up here over medium-high heat. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to put in a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Let that heat through. And then we're going to add our mushrooms. What do we do? Yeah, that's sizzling. I'm going to get them in there. Shake them around the pan a little bit. Now, next I'm going to season them with a little salt, a little kosher salt, a little freshly cracked black pepper, and over high heat, these are going to take probably about 5 to 8 minutes to completely cook. Okay, it's been about 7 minutes over pretty high heat, and you can see here that my mushrooms have reduced in size rather a great deal. You can also see, I think, that the mushrooms are actually browned. They have a little color on them. There's some fond in the bottom of the pan. You see that dark stuff. That's all really good mushroom flavor in there. This is exactly what we want. These mushrooms are done now, and I'm going to remove them to a plate to cool. Our next job is to prepare the spinach, and we're just going to gather all this into a ball. Get our sleeve out of the way first, of course. And I'm just going to make sort of a ball shape out of it. I'm going to squeeze it between my hands. I'm not even going to bother to use a cheesecloth or anything. It's really not necessary. Holds together really fairly well. And move the strainer so it catches any that falls. And there you have it. The cheese filling, very easy to put together. Here I've got 4 cups of ricotta cheese. That's whole milk ricotta. You can use skim milk ricotta if you like, doesn't really matter. But if you're on the keto diet and you want to have a high fat content here, use whole milk ricotta. I've also got some mozzarella cheese here. This is about 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella and 3/4 of a cup to a cup of Parmesan cheese that I've also got shredded here. I'm going to add some freshly ground black pepper to it. About 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 of a cup of parsley that I've chopped, 2 eggs. These are large eggs. If you have medium eggs, you might want to use 3 of them, but 2 will probably be enough. And then we just mix it up. And there you have it. A nice filling for our lasagna. This is enough for one big, that would be like a 9 by 13 inch pan, great big lasagna, or for 2 smaller, 2 maybe 8 by 8s. I'm going to make 2 here. I'm going to freeze one and bake one right now for supper tonight. To assemble our lasagna, I've started by putting a little bit of the pizza sauce in the bottom of my dish, and I've covered it with some nice noodles here. As you can see, these eggplant slices that I put there. I'm going to next put some of this basil pesto in there as kind of a layer. I'm just going to put it in there. We're going to spread it out all over. I'm going to be generous with this. I want this to be really tasty. Basil pesto is really one of my favorite ingredients in the world. And I always make big batches of it every summer and then freeze it. Now here you can see my noodles are going to... Anyway, I'm going to spread this out as evenly as I can, and then we'll move on. Next, I'm going to scoop on some of our cheese mixture. We're going to make 2 layers here. So I'm going to use about 1/4 of the filling I prepared. Remember, this is for 2 lasagnas this size. And I'm going to kind of distribute it like this first so it's easy to spread out. And then smooth it out. Next, I'm going to sprinkle on some of my spinach. I'm going to be generous with this. I want there to be spinach in every bite. Frozen spinach is such a great product. Anyway, I'm going to put about half of the frozen spinach in here, like this. There we go. And then I'm going to layer in the mushrooms in a single layer. Doesn't that look good? Absolutely. So about half the mushrooms are going to go in this layer. There we go. That's pretty nice. Let's smush it down a little bit. Of course, as always with lasagna, I'm going to add some red sauce on top of that. Again, generously. There we go, and on to the next layer. Pesto, some more cheese filling. Spinach, the rest of the mushrooms. See, we're getting pretty close to the top of the little pan here. Distribute these around evenly. More of our sauce. And we're going to finish it up, as always with the lasagna, with more noodles on top. And there we have the completed lasagna. I'm going to top it off with some more of my red sauce here, my pizza sauce. You can see we're a little above the top. That's all right. We're going to put this in a sheet pan to make sure that if there's anything that spills, we catch it and it doesn't burn on the floor of our oven. Anyway, I preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and this is going to go in there at first, covered with foil, for 45 minutes. And then we'll take the foil off and bake it the rest of the way. It's been 45 minutes now, and so let's take our foil off. Oh, that looks nice, didn't stick like that. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my oven up to 425, and it's going to preheat while we do this. And we're going to put a little more cheese on this. And we like to have a pretty top here, right? I'm going to sprinkle on some mozzarella cheese. This is shredded mozzarella. Let's make a nice topping with that. I've also got some shredded Parmesan cheese I'm going to use as well. That'll make a really nice tangy topping. This smells just divine. I gotta tell you, you can smell that lovely basil pesto in there. Really, really nice. Okay, so this is going to go back in our oven for, I'm going to say, 15 or 20 more minutes at least. And we want to see if we can get kind of a nice brown crust on the top of that. If we don't, of course, we can put it under the broiler. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But isn't that a nice looking lasagna? After 15 minutes, here's what it looks like. You can see that we're starting to get some browning over here on this edge. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the oven, which remember is at 425. I'm going to put this back in the oven for about 5 more minutes. And here we have it about 8 minutes later. Look at that. That is just beautiful. You can see it's bubbling away here. It's also risen up just a little bit out of the pan. That's due to the eggs, of course, in our filling. We're going to let this cool down for a good 20, if not 30 minutes, or maybe even a little bit longer before we cut into it. It's right now, it's gooey, the cheese is all hot, and it's just going to be a mess if we do that, so we're going to wait. It's now been 25 minutes since we brought this out of the oven. I think it's time to slice it and to serve. In an 8x8 pan, this makes really generous portions for 6 people. Okay? And for 6 people, I'm going to cut this in 3s. That lovely, lovely brown caramelization there. Really happy with that. All right, maybe say a little prayer for me here. I think we're going to get it out of there. Got my plate ready right here beside. Okay. Not too bad. There we go. Well, all right, let's check it out. I think that looks really, really nice. It smells so great. The whole house. Oh, kind of take it apart there. The whole house, man, it's just filled up with this beautiful, of course, lasagna smell that's kind of dominated by pesto. Let's see how the taste works out. That's really a nice, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, so lovely. It is dominated by the pesto, really. I did use all of that in the end. Wow, that is just delicious. The cheese layers are very nice. They're not too sloppy. They're not falling out. There's my lasagna isn't in a puddle of water here like I've seen it really with cow's lasagna a couple of times. Again, I persevere, but nice. This is very much like lasagna with pasta noodles, I think. And I hope you'll try it and you'll like it. And I also hope that you're going to comment and like, share, and subscribe. Important step. Please subscribe. Anyway, listen, thanks for joining us here today on Tim Talks Cooking. We'll catch you next time.